Ukraine's use of weapons supplied by its Western allies against targets inside Russia would not make NATO and its members part of the conflict. This is what NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said on May 28 at an EU meeting. Belgium said more needs to be done to help Ukraine in its war effort against Russia. This after it signed an agreement to deliver 30 F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. What is the current state of play in the Russia-Ukraine conflict? Hello and welcome. I'm Mark Lynn and you're watching Connecting the Dots. Let's take a deeper look at the current scenario of the Russia-Ukraine war and what lies ahead of the conflict. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine continues unabated. It is over 825 days since Russia's military operation began, but the situation remains fluid. Recent reports suggest Russian forces have been making inroads into Kharkiv, Ukraine's second-largest city. However, in a recent counter-offensive, Ukraine is reported to have liberated 3,000 square kilometers of territory and is hoping to recapture Lyman, which is in Donetsk. The overall situation is such that Russia occupies 18% of Ukrainian territory, while Ukraine's attempts to recapture territory have stalled after Russia's latest offensive in northeast Kharkiv. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is also facing questions about his legitimacy. Zelenskyy had won the presidential election in April of 2019 with a landslide victory, 73% of the vote. His approval ratings were high, but have decreased since then. Despite Zelenskyy's term in office expiring this month, Ukraine is under martial law. Ukrainians have little choice but to support Zelenskyy until the conflict is over. Reports suggest his legitimacy remains unquestioned by most Ukrainians. Besides, holding an election now would be challenging, since Russia occupies a significant portion of Ukrainian territory, and millions of Ukrainians also live abroad. And hundreds of thousands of soldiers are also fighting on the front lines. There is no clear alternative president now. President Putin of Russia has publicly stated that Zelenskyy has no legitimacy following the expiry of his 5-year term. As for Putin, he himself won an election in March with over 88% of the vote share. Some view his presidency as legitimate, while others, many in the West, question the electoral process and transparency. At the core of this conflict is Russia's concern for NATO's expansion. Russian President Putin continues to intimidate certain NATO members, mentioning Poland within his vision of a grand Russia. His deputy prime minister has even made threatening remarks towards the Norwegian leadership of the island of Svalbard in the Arctic Ocean. Now, the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz at the Munich conference hinted at how the West is redefining its war aims in Ukraine. Rather than saying, quote-unquote, Ukraine will win or Russia must leave Ukraine, Scholz argued that Putin should not dictate the terms of peace in Ukraine. The situation is clearly fluid, and leaders in countries most exposed to Russia's flank are preparing for scenarios that were unthinkable in February of 2022. Still, NATO views Ukraine as an independent, peaceful and democratic country and a close NATO partner. NATO and its allies, they continue to provide unprecedented levels of support to Ukraine, helping to uphold its fundamental right to self-defense. Ukraine and NATO started developing closer ties back in the early 1990s. Since Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014, NATO allies have boosted their political and practical support to Ukraine. Thousands of anti-tank weapons, hundreds of air defense missiles, and thousands of small arms and ammunition stocks have been sent to Ukraine. NATO has also agreed to work on long-term military support, coordinating the supply of arms, ammunition, and equipment to Ukraine. Russia condemns NATO's involvement in Ukraine and views it as an infringement on its sphere of influence. NATO has called on Russia to cease hostilities, withdraw its forces from Ukraine, and work towards a peaceful diplomatic solution. Beyond the rhetoric, diplomatic negotiations have been ongoing with efforts to de-escalate tensions and find common ground. but to no evident avail. NATO has clarified that it will not deploy forces to Ukraine and will also not enforce a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Hence, it is really limiting the options for Ukraine and extending the stalemate. Since 2014, Russia's response to NATO has been military posturing, diplomatic engagement, and a firm stance against its actions in support of Ukraine. The situation remains sensitive, with implications for regional stability. So, is peace on the table? Well, Putin has acknowledged China's peace plan as a genuine desire to end the conflict in Ukraine. But he said that it could only work when the West and Kiev are ready for it. China's plan consists of 12 points. The important thing is that it does not call for Russia to leave Ukraine, but still emphasizes peace talks and respect for national sovereignty. The plan includes protection for prisoners of war, stopping attacks on civilians, ensuring safety of nuclear power plants, and facilitating grain exports. Putin thinks the Chinese plan could be a foundation for resolving the conflict. Ukraine wants Russia's withdrawal from its territory as a precondition for the talks, but there is no indication that Russia is prepared to do so. Other proposals look at ceasefire, Russian withdrawal, and Kiev accepting neutrality and curbs on its armed forces. While various proposals exist, achieving peace in Ukraine remains contingent on the willingness of all parties involved to engage in meaningful dialogue and also compromise. The situation continues to evolve and international efforts persist in search of a resolution. The situation in Ukraine is complex. Can Ukraine count on the West's support indefinitely? US Republicans backing ex-President Donald Trump are blocking arms deliveries to Ukraine. This has made Ukrainian troops struggle on the battlefield. European leaders too are failing to fill the gap in military supplies. France insists on European provisions, but there may be a manufacturing shortfall within the bloc. Ukraine and Belgium on May 28 struck a bilateral agreement, including the delivery of 30 F-16 fighter jets. The document includes at least 977 million euros in Belgian military aid to Ukraine this year, as well as Belgium's commitment to providing support over the course of 10 years. Can this help Ukraine to hang in there till Russia begins to perhaps regret the long-term losses of its campaign? As war fatigue mounts, time will tell. Are you fascinated by geoglyphs? Then you must be curious about Nazca lines. These massive geoglyphs etched into the desert floor in southern Peru, since their discovery, they're shrouded in mystery. Giant birds, monkeys, and abstract designs stretch for miles around the sand. Experts believe they were likely created by the Nazca culture between 200 BCE and 700 CE, but the purpose behind them is still unknown. Some theories suggest they were used for rituals, astronomical observations, while others believe they have a religious connect. The interesting fact is that they have survived for so long. The reason? The extreme dry climate. But we still don't fully understand their significance and what makes them so fascinating. So what are geoglyphs? They are a type of land art or rock art created on the ground using natural elements like stones, gravel, or earth. Hill figures are designed to be visible from a distance, making them a striking feature of the landscape. Now, archaeologists have released drone images of the geoglyph in Peru. It's made of stone and is shaped like a bird. What's interesting is that it could be between 1,000 to 1,500 years old. How was this geoglyph found? It was found in an agricultural area when a drone was flying over the Valle di Viro in Trujillo when it was captured in October of 2023. Archaeologists said the figure is between 30 and 40 meters long on each side. They found ceramics associated with the Mochica culture. The Mochica culture, known for their Engineering feats and exceptional ceramics thrived in ancient Peru between the 2nd and the 7th centuries CE. They developed sophisticated water canal systems and left behind a legacy of impressive geoglyphs, including the famous Nazca lines. Peru is famous for its geoglyphs, and the Nazca lines are perhaps the most well-known example. Located 240 miles southeast of Lima, they attract tourists from around the world, much like the iconic Incan ruin of Machu Picchu. However, the Nazca drawings are so large that they're best appreciated from the air and can be difficult to fully grasp from the ground. In March this year, anthropologists discovered 8 geoglyphs in Ratnagiri in the Indian state of Maharashtra. One of these geoglyphs is about 17 feet long. The experts said they could be around 10,000 years old. A cluster of these prehistoric rock art carvings are spread across 900 kilometers of the Konkan coast in Maharashtra and Goa. In fact, Ratnagiri district alone is home to over 1,500 pieces of rock art scattered across 70 sites. And 7 of these sites have even made it to UNESCO's tentative list of World Heritage recognition. Geoglyphs hold the secret of ancient mysteries, and the earth is waiting for us to uncover them. If I ask you about the largest land animal that you have seen, what will be the answer? Elephants, right? The majestic creature has captivated human imagination for centuries. Elephants have a special place in many cultures around the world. In Hinduism, Lord Ganesh, the elephant-headed god, is revered as Vignaharta, who removes all obstacles. In Buddhism, the white elephant is a symbol of enlightenment, representing wisdom and spiritual growth. In Africa, elephants are associated with royal power and fertility, while in Asia, they're often depicted in art and literature as a symbol of good luck and prosperity. And let's not forget about the amazing elephant festivals that happen around the world, like the Mysore Dasara festival in India, where decorated elephants lead processions through the streets, or the Elephant Festival in Jaipur, where elephants are dressed up in fancy costumes and accessories. There are basically 3 species of elephants: the African savanna, African forest, and the Asian. The African savanna is the largest among the 3 in size. They can weigh up to 6,000 kgs on average. Do you know elephants are highly intelligent and have keen memories? Elephants have larger temporal lobe, so this part of the brain is associated with memory. Hence, you can say elephants never forget. Elephants communicate in a variety of ways, including sounds like trumpet calls. They can also communicate through seismic signals, sounds that create vibrations in the ground. You may be surprised to know that elephants also greet each other. Besides trumpets, they flap their ears forward to touch the other elephant to greet. Elephants engage in elaborate greeting ceremonies to strengthen their social bond. There's a dominant matriarch among the elephants. They form female-led groups who also take care of the calves. Look at this video. How a baby elephant is given Z category-like security by its family. The baby elephant also checks the presence of other family members for reassurance. Elephants are vulnerable to exploitation and they face numerous threats to their survival. They are often subjected to cruel treatment in circuses and zoos, forced to perform tricks, and they live in captivity. Additionally, they are poached for their valuable tusks and ivory. The World Wildlife Fund says 90% of African elephants have vanished in just the past century. The main culprit is the ivory trade. And it's not just Africa. Asian elephants are also under threat, with their numbers plummeting by at least half in just 3 generations. Reports indicate that over 20,000 elephants are killed annually for their ivory. Habitat loss and human-elephant conflict also pose significant threats, as elephants are forced to venture into human settlements in search of food and shelter, leading to conflicts with local communities. Elephants are often annoyed by humans through activities such as tourism, which can disrupt their natural behavior and cause stress. According to a recent report by the World Animal Protection, many elephant tourism venues in Asia are still keeping elephants in poor condition and subjecting them to cruel treatment. It becomes essential to address these issues and to work towards protecting elephants' habitats, also preventing poaching and promoting ethical and responsible treatment of these magnificent creatures. Here's the story of a tribal couple, Bomman and Belli, in southern India, in the state of Tamil Nadu. It's a ray of hope. The couple take care of an orphaned and injured baby elephant in the Nilgiris. Their story was also depicted in the documentary The Elephant Whisperers that won an Oscar. Even India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with the couple during his visit to an elephant camp in the Nilgiris. Prime Minister Modi also fed sugarcane to some of the elephants at the camp. In India, conservation efforts are underway to protect elephants. Population estimation exercises of wild elephants have recently been conducted in several Indian states like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. To prevent elephant deaths on tracks, Indian Railways too have introduced an AI-based surveillance system. It's called Gajraj in elephant corridors across several states in the country. So under this project, sensors powered by AI tech have been installed near railway tracks, and they send out notifications to alert the Railway Administration and the Forest Department about the movement of elephants and other animals. In African countries like Gabon, Kenya and Botswana, AI camera systems are also being used for elephant conservation efforts. By combining traditional conservation efforts with cutting-edge technology like artificial intelligence, we can ensure a brighter future for elephants. Remember, an elephant never forgets, and neither should we. Well, that's all we have in this edition of Connecting the Dots. This is Mark Lynn signing off. We'll see you next week with more raging issues that touch our lives and imagination. Goodbye for now from all of us here in the Delhi newsroom. Take care and namaskar.